Good morning. Good morning. On to another chapter. Okay, we'll hit another chapter again today. This is a fairly short one, only 20-some verses. And it's about one particular subject, so it'll be hard to break it up. You can see here, Jacob adopts and blesses Joseph's sons, Manasseh and Esau, and Ephraim. And quite a history those two young men are going to have as we study them even further as we go into the future. But let's start with a word of prayer. Oh, Lord, thank you, Lord, so much for all the things that you give us. And thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to learn from your word. And we praise you and we thank you so much. And we think about all those out there today and be with them and help them through their day. And that they be able to be, for those that don't know you, that they will get that burning desire in their heart to know you better and to reach out to someone who can help them to understand what it takes to become a child of yours. We give you all the praise and thanks. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, welcome. Let's see, probably Teresa, maybe Liz, Olivia, Quentin, Nick, Marianne, and anyone else who might be watching. Welcome. It's our little Bible study we've been doing here for quite a few months. Winding down Genesis, so just for anyone who might be new, probably got a few more days here in Genesis, and then we're going to be heading into Exodus, so probably starting early next week. And so look forward to that also as we continue our study through the Bible. And that's the way it's kind of turning out to be. Digging deep and trying to get all those little hidden meanings we always seem to skip over when we're just reading it. So that's our aim here. So let's bring in some. Today we're going to be talking about Jacob is going to bless Joseph's sons. And I got a map here that I'm going to show you that will kind of, towards the end of it, we're going to find out that his two sons actually become quite blessed in the fact that they received the same inheritance that Jacob's original sons do. And this is another parallel to us as the church. We got the original 12 tribes of Israel, and that these two sons are being brought into the inheritance at the same level as the original sons. Some fascinating parallels all through the book of this whole story of Jacob and Joseph. So let's bring some verses in here. Starting off in verse 1 of chapter 48. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, Behold, thy father is sick, and he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Now, Manasseh and Ephraim, we remember them. They were born unto Joseph when he was in captivity. Actually, he was not in captivity anymore, when he was in Egypt. And just reflect back on that. It's back in Genesis 46:20. And unto Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which Aeneas, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. So the Pharaoh had given Joseph a wife, someone to wife, who was a priestess. She was the daughter of a priest. Not the kind of priest we're thinking of, but within the Egyptian religious hierarchy. And of course, Joseph, being a strong, devout person he was, never swayed from his belief in one true God. Also, Joseph will see his grandchildren also continuing on through here. When we get into chapter 50, there's a little sneak peek. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation, the children also of Machar, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. So he's going to see his grandkids too. We're going to see as we go through this. Joseph actually lives somewhere to like 110, 115 years old. So for a good period of time, even while they're in Egypt, because right now he's in his early 30s. So it's going to be a good long time in Egypt before we get into the bad parts of Egypt. We're going to be talking about when we get into Exodus. Okay, back to chapter 48, verse 2. And one told Jacob and said, Behold, thy son Joseph coming unto thee, and Israel strengthened himself and sat upon his bed. See, that shift in names again. Now Jacob is going to be acting on behalf of the whole family as Israel. So he strengthened himself and he sat up in bed so that he could receive his guests. And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. So as a reminder of that, that happened in Genesis 35, 6 and 7. So Jacob came to Luz, which is the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. And if you want a little quick guide where that is, maybe this time I'll get my actual bigger cursor. Let me point to this a little bit. Okay. So Bethel would be right about, I'm sure this whole area is Canaan. This map is more designed around the future than it is right now. But Hebron, that general area right in through here is where Bethel is. Well, there's Bethel right there. See it right at the tip of my index finger there on the hand. Let me blow that up just a little bit. You can really see it. There it is right there, or at the end of my thumb. Okay, so that's where we're talking about here. And now I lost my verses. And he appeared there an altar and called the place Bethel, because there God appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. So that's where God had blessed Joseph, and so he's reflecting back on this as he's talking to his son. Okay, verse 4. And he said unto me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. That's the area we see here in this particular picture. Appeared unto Luz. We saw that in Genesis 35, 6 and 7. I mentioned that already. And being fruitful, we're seeing Genesis 46, 3. And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will make thee of a great nation. So here is another hint that it's okay for him to go down into Egypt, and then God is going to be with him and produce a large nation. So that's kind of these are the things he's telling his son at the moment. And he's going to be granted a certain land and seed. That's why I brought this map up. Because Manasseh is going to get a double portion, and it talks about this a little bit. And that's where you see here when Joshua, we're way in the future yet. When Joshua starts taking over the land of Israel, Manasseh actually gets two portions, and this yellow area is what Manasseh gets, and then Ephraim gets this green area. One map I have shows that a little bit larger than that. That's the general idea. And these are the other areas that the sons get. You see on the map there. The different colors. There's the chart there of all the sons and what they get. And we'll kind of explain why at the end of this. Kind of interesting that it seems that the tribes of Joseph have a lot of faith in the Lord because as Joshua tells them to do things, they go ahead and do it, and they're successful at it. So they have a lot of faith in the Lord. I think that's probably why they get a double blessing here. Okay, continuing on. So talking about the land and the seed, Genesis 35:12, here's the promise. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac to thee, I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. Also mentions in Exodus 6:8. And I will bring you unto the land concerning that which I did swear to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And I will give it to you for a heritage. I am the Lord. Here he's talking to Moses when he's talking, and God is talking to Moses. We'll be talking all about that one again in Exodus. And for an everlasting possession, we see that in Genesis 17:8, going all the way back to Abraham. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land which thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. This goes all the way into the millennium kingdom, as I showed you a few times, and we'll probably hit on it again. But the actual area that it's supposed to get is all the way from the Mediterranean Sea all the way to the river Euphrates. Okay, back to chapter 48, verse 5. And now the two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt before I came unto thee into Egypt, now this is Jacob talking, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. And thy issue which thou begettest after them shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. So he's also promising their inheritance. And as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan, in the way, when there was but a little way to come unto Ephrath, and I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, the same as Bethlehem. So the Bethlehem, that's right here, and that is where Rachel was buried. Well, he's leading up to the fact that he wants to make sure he gets buried in his hometown too, which is Hebron. So Bethlehem, a couple of verses on that, in Genesis 35, 19 and 20. And Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And Jacob set a pillar upon her grave. That is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. So I'm not sure if it's still there, if you can find it now, but I'm willing to bet you can. I didn't try to look for a picture on that one. Maybe I will at some point. Okay, back to chapter 48, verse 8. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, These are my sons, whom God hath given me in this place. And he said, Bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them. Seems like Jacob has the same problem his father did. Remember, Isaac was having a problem with his eyesight. A little refresher on that in Genesis 27:1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau, his oldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said, Behold, here I am. That was the old trickery that Rebekah and Joseph dreamed up and stole the birthright away from Esau. So back to Genesis. This won't happen here, though. Jacob is a little bit too wise to that. He's the one who did it the last time. Okay, so on to verse 11. 38:11. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not through to see thy face, and lo, God hath showed me also thy seed. He's really pleased here. He's basically saying, I never thought I was going to see you again. Never mind your children. Verse 12. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger. Now Ephraim was the younger, remember. And the right hand meant something. It meant that you received the higher portion. Who was the younger? And and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hand willingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. I couldn't help but see a parallel here also in Matthew, talking about bringing the children unto me. And we see Jesus says a similar thing in Matthew and Mark. So let's look at that. Matthew 19:14 and 15. And Jesus said, Suffer little children, forbid them not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And he laid his hand on them and departed thence. So he blessed them, laid his hand on them. Also in Mark gives a little bit longer, definite information on this particular episode. But when Jesus saw it, he was much displeased, and he said unto them, Suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God. Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child, he shall not enter therein. And he took them up in his arms and put his hands upon them and blessed them. So, and also in Joshua 17, we've got some. We're going to be there. We're going to spend a little time there. The rest of this, showing some things that are going to happen in the future that point to why Jacob is doing what he's doing. So in Joshua 17, 1 and 2. There was also a lot for the tribe of Manasseh, for he was the firstborn of Joseph, to wit, for Maachir, the firstborn of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, because he was a man of war. Therefore he had Gilead and Bashan. And that's that area over here. And that's got a rather interesting history. There was also a lot for the rest of the children of Manasseh by their families, for the children of Ebenezer, and for the children of Helek, and for the children of Azarel, and for the children of Shechem, and for the children of Hefer, and for the children of Shemitah. These were the male children of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, by their families. So jumping down to verse 8 through 11. Now Manasseh had the land of Tappuah, but Tappuah on the border of Manasseh belonged to the children of Ephraim. And the coast descended unto the river Keneg, southward of the river. These cities of Ephraim are among the cities of Manasseh. The coast of Manasseh was on the north side of the river, and the outgoings of it were at the sea. So that's talking about this general area. And southward it was Ephraim's, and northward it was Manasseh's. And the sea is his border. And they met together in Asher on the north, and Issachar on the east. And Manasseh had Issachar and in Asher Bethshean and her towns, and Ibleam and her towns, and the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, and the inhabitants of Endor and her towns, and the inhabitants of Tanish and her towns, and the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns, even 3 countries. Now, we understand why I kind of brought this up here in a minute. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here in a minute, but I got some other things I want to talk about first. So this is the areas that Manasseh and again, the green area is Ephraim. Back to Genesis 48:15. And he blessed Joseph and said, Go before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God which fed me all my life long unto this day. The angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be known on them, in the day of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. So talking about being redeemed here, those are in Exodus 6:6. Wherefore saith unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rig you out of their bondage. And I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with a great judgment. Again, symbolic of them being brought out of the evil land of Egypt. And the same way we're going to be taken out of this evil land to be with the Father, be with the Lord. And growing into a great multitude. This is what gets into a little bit why these land areas are the way they are. In Numbers 26:34, these are the families of Manasseh, and those that were numbered of them, 52,700. Try to remember that number, 52,700. Now we jump down to verse 37. These are the families of the sons of Ephraim, according to those that were numbered of them, 32,500. These are the sons of Joseph after their families. So Ephraim had a much smaller family at this particular time. So we got a smaller area. Okay, back to Genesis 48:17. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him, and he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head under Manasseh's hand. Like I said, the right hand is supposed to go on the head of the oldest. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, In thee shall Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. So Ephraim got the bigger portion of the blessing. And it's mainly because I'm not exactly sure why, but we're going to see a few other things here as we read through this. Back to verse 21. And Israel said unto Joseph, Behold, I die, but God shall be with you, and bring you again unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. So he's basically giving Joseph two blessings because he's got two. He's giving a blessing to each one of the children. Now we talk about this Amorites, and going back to Joshua 17, we got some more information here. This time reading verses 14 through 18. And the children of Joseph spake unto Joshua, saying, Why hast thou given me but one lot and one portion to inherit, seeing I am a great people, for as much the Lord hath blessed me hitherto? And Joshua answered them, If thou be a great people, then get thee up to the wood country, and cut down for thyself in the land of the Perizzites and of the giants, if Mount Ephraim be too narrow for thee. And the children of Joseph said, The hill is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites that dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both they who are of Bethshean and her towns, and they who are of the valley of Jezreel. And Joshua spake unto the house of Joseph, even to Ephraim and to Manasseh, saying, Thou art a great people, and have great power. Thou shalt not have one lot only. But the mountain shall be thine, for it is a wood, and thou shalt cut it down, and the outgoings of it shall be thine. For thou shalt drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots, and though they be strong. So you kind of get the hint there that because of the abilities of Manasseh of the house of Joseph, that they're able to take over more land, and that's why of the land they already took. Basically, Joshua didn't give them to more land of what they already took over, because he's basically given Joshua's telling them, go capture more land for yourself. So he must have known that they had more ability to do that than some of the other tribes. And this also shows up here in Judges 11:23. So now the Lord God of Israel hath disposed the Amorites from before his people Israel, and should thou possess it. And also in Amos 2:9. Yet destroyed I the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above, and his roots from beneath. So there it seems like that it's also an area where there's giants, and this is going to take. In other words, they have it there. They're good at warfare, so they're going to be able to take this land over easier than the other tribes. That's why Joshua gave them less. And that's kind of where I got the idea that the reason that they were chosen to be honored with the extra blessing is because they were going to be instrumental in this takeover of Israel. I could be a little off on that, but that's what I was thinking about as I was reading through some of this. So that's what I had for today. So based on this map, we can also see the blessing Manasseh receives in land. It would also seem his tribes were warriors based on what Joshua said in that verse there that we just read. And so, like I mentioned before, this whole area here will belong, and this is much later on. This is actually about 1300 BC. And when we get to the period of time of going to the Millennium Kingdom, it actually they get even more. You can kind of see here. Right now, they're over here in Ramses, this general area. And at some point, they're going to go back. Nice little map. So the pink area here, we got one tribe, and then we got the green area. And I just realized the green area, that's also Ephraim. That's why I was a little confused why they weren't getting as much land. So Manasseh actually got their hometown area of Beersheba. Now that makes sense. Plus this area here near Bethel. So basically, Ephraim got the areas that were special to Jacob, and that Manasseh got the areas that were tough to take over. So because Manasseh had that seemed to be good at warfare and was able to capture these areas. This is the hill country as we get up towards, particularly up here. It's very hilly up here. This is better known as the Golan Heights. Very important area militarily. You can see that as Golan. And also you heard me mention the couple other things. The Bashan. And Jesus himself, when he's on the cross, even mentions the bulls of Bashan are around me. There's something tied to the fact that that area is a very evil area. And we mentioned the giants there, and I think it might tie into that. The whole Nephilim thing from Genesis 6 is still in that general area, and it's most people believe that the seed of Satan is the one that's in those giants. There's a lot more in the Bible about that as you dig deeply into the Word. You find these little things that you hear people talking about these days about the Nephilim. Have you ever heard that term before? They're giants, and it stems from that whole thing with the angels that happened in Genesis 6. And they still believe that there's going to be a period of time where that's going to play a role in the end times game. And again, it's all about Satan trying to stop this. We're going to talk about a lot about that as we get into Exodus. There's quite a few places where Satan tries to stop the birth of Jesus Christ by throwing stumbling blocks in the way of the Jewish nation. And we'll touch base on some of those as we go into the study of Exodus. So that's all I have for today. And let's end with a prayer. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much for this time that we spend in your word. And help me, Lord, to always be able to dig deep and be able to research all these things. Help me to identify these little known things that you got tucked away in the Bible. We praise you and give you thanks. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.